Courtney's plea for help, again.
It's all under my name. I pay.
Okay, just to have Judge, again, this is so clear she's trying to get a restraining order. She testifies as to had he been violent in the past. She says yes, and the officers kind of just they brush right past that instead of saying, hey, why don't you tell us about that abuse? She does say that's not her thing, but she knows she wants him gone. 2 days, less than 48 hours before the incident.
It's all under my name. I pay the whole rent. He has never paid a second time of rent. He has someone named friend. I broke up with him. He said my mom came out. So I told him to break up with him, and I just said, he sat in my elevator room inside the coach. I looked there and he's something kind of in my life. Let's just stop.
We get down here to the lobby area where our boyfriend comes charging for.
Again, what's important, Judge, in that video, I know you've seen it, independent witnesses talking about Obumseli charging at Courtney to the point that they had to intervene, which is consistent, again, with what happened on April 3rd, where she says to the detective, he was charging at me, running at me, coming at me. I could see the whites of his eyes. Not an isolated incident of abuse by Obumseli on Courtney. No problem. Judge, you recall the end of that video, crystal clear. I want a restraining order against Obumseli. Judge, important, again, mischaracterization, misleading by the state in this case. This is the video of the officer in Las Vegas where Courtney gets arrested for domestic abuse by throwing a glass towards Mr. Obumseli that she admitted to the officer. What the state doesn't tell you is at the beginning of the body-worn camera is that this security officer tells him, hey, my people went upstairs and there's clumps of hair on the floor. There was a struggle. And again, Courtney protected Obumseli, didn't say anything until she realized, wait, I'm getting arrested. Officer, I didn't tell you everything that happened. Well, you could, I'll supplement my report, but you're going to jail. That's what happened. Courtney was abused that day by Obumseli. The video, I'm sure Your Honor saw, the condition of Mr. Obumseli on that video in the morning. And you could see how Courtney's interaction was with the detective. The state failed to provide Your Honor this information.
The female calls while she's calling security. She's basically saying, like, get your hands off me. We get up there. They both at one point commit to physical altercation inside of the room. The room upstairs is disaster.
Okay.
I think there's an alleged hair pulling of her.
Alleged hair pulling.
Hair?
Oh, hair pulling.
Right. The guy is saying that didn't happen. So, I just walked by and he's like thrown up into a trash can, so I have no idea what their deal is. Sounds like they're both thrown.
Again, that officer says both people admitted to getting physical. Courtney ends up going to jail for that one. This is the end of the video where she talks about, I'm not telling you everything.
Consider battery of domestic violence and mandatory arrest.
Okay, there's a lot that I didn't say because I didn't want him to get in trouble.
Again, protecting her abuser so that he doesn't get in trouble. The text messages, the state has tried to make a case about what these text messages show. Again, these are text messages. They're lacking in context, they're lacking in tone, they're lacking in expression. If this is the state's case, it definitely doesn't meet the standard of proof evidence presumption grade, nor substantial likelihood. Again, what's important about these text messages are, after there's some discussion about some incidents, what always happens is Courtney says to Obumseli, go ahead and tell them what happened because then I will say what really happened. I'm not afraid. She was not afraid to say what would happen if he called the police. And those are what these text messages show. Clearly, Judge, we're not denying this was a toxic relationship. Mr. Clenney knew it. Miss Clenney knew it. Everybody knew it except for Courtney and Mr. Obumseli. He says, I'm not saying anything because tell them your side and I'll tell them what happened. And he never says anything because he's afraid of the truth, because the truth would hurt. The state tries to say that Courtney is acting, I think that what the state's trying to prove by some of the text messages was like, oh, that she's acting in ill will by her use of certain things. Again, these are text messages without context. She mentions, too, without getting into the details, but in her interview, I know Your Honor's looked at it, she talks about Christian, I believe, was holding a knife to himself in the bathroom. He committing self-harm.
I don't remember exactly what the situation was, but he had taken a knife, he grabbed it from my face, and then I got scared, and he was kind of waving at me, but it wasn't for me, and then he took it to the extra room and slammed the door, and he had a history of self-harm, so I kind of was like, okay, well, I'm going to chase him. Regardless of whether or not what's going on. And I tried to open the door, and he wouldn't open the door, so I got really scared that he was doing something that I couldn't control, so I got caught. And he wasn't very happy with me about that, but I was really scared. And he tried to leave me to do and he tried to leave me many times, but I don't know where he did right then. So you know, bipolar.
We know, again, the nature of the relationship. It's described by Courtney, and in the context of this, we know that Courtney, when she describes this attack, clearly had no other choice but to defend herself. She talks about seeing the whites of his eyes and her level of fear.
We stayed like against the couch. Like we were obviously it was a big deal. So this kind of like going right into work and somehow we take over and like we were standing by the couch before the kitchen and I was in the kitchen. And then we started all the lights inside and it was like coming at me. And so I grabbed one of these knives, like I'm coming for Christmas, I grabbed one and I was like, I swear to God. I swear to God. It was just like, I was like, don't come anywhere closer to me. Because earlier, I hadn't really had that good fucking breathe. I'm sorry. I couldn't breathe. And it's very scary. And I just think, like, just like that kind of thing, like, you know he's okay. If he's choking and he's angry enough, he might like, this is different, I think. But if he's like choking me or like hitting me or something, I can't breathe, he might go slow. So I grabbed my knife, I said, don't come anywhere close to me. I have absolutely no intention of using it. I was calling my mom, and he's coming at me like he's going to grab me with a phone or the knife or something, and so I was just like, don't get any closer.
Now, what's important here, the state, talks about, I flung it. The detective in this case couldn't remember a lot of things. Your Honor can evaluate his testimony, but what's important, especially in this type of case, would be, hey, you know what? Let's talk about how you flung that knife. Did you throw it? Did you wind up? He never goes to have her describe that. Really fails to have her go through, because that would have been something that probably should have been done. Show me again, how did you throw the knife? He goes through this statement with her 3 times and never goes and does follow-up. But again, Your Honor has gone through the full statement. It is not inconsistent. The detective even said, I asked a couple of times because sometimes people remember more detail when you go through it again. And that's what her statement is. It's not inconsistent at all. Again, at the end when she says, he asked her if this is justified, which obviously is a legal conclusion, but at the end, which the state, again, leaves out, is when she
I'm
says,
not